Let's go! It is the LSU Football Spring Practice Report. This was the first time we have seen the new look Tigers. Once again, I'm going to need your help in the comment section. Give me your thoughts on what you guys see. Once again, it is spring. You don't want to take too much away. But the first thing I want to point out here is Jayden Daniels is actually supporting a new style. He is rocking the visor. Now, what's fascinating about that is last year he elected to not wear a visor, I believe, in any games. And at Arizona State, I saw him actually wear a visor. So there you go. We also see Garrett Nussmeier here. Obviously, these are the two top quarterbacks on the roster. Brian Kelly mentioned a minor medical procedure. Obviously, a little bit of an overthrow there from Nuss. We'll talk a little bit more about these actual throws later. And then, of course, this is your first time seeing Rickie Collins. In the background, I believe this is Carter Hamsley, a walk-on quarterback. And as you can see, this is why they do this drill. They're working on ball security, right? Keeping two hands on the football when defensive linemen are chopping down at it. And these are basically the individual drills portion of practice, right? Where Joe Sloan, the quarterback coach who is right here, works with these players. And they call these individual drills, right? You're working with your individual position groups. So very interesting stuff there at the quarterback position. Here's a few more from Garrett Nussmeier. If the back gets turned this way, you throw to the right, and if it is the opposite way, you throw to the left. So there you go. In this video, or these practice clips, footages are from Tiger Details, and I'm actually playing them at .75 speed, right? But when you just look at Rickie Collins, look at this. I mean, he looks like a Division I quarterback. Athletically, you can see that the man is well put together, coming out of Woodlawn High School. So it is interesting. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about Rickie. You'll see him for the first time in an actual scrimmage setting, officially in a spring game. I'm sure there will be some practice footage clips versus actual defenses that eventually do get released. But last year, Woodlawn had an up-and-down season. So it's very interesting to see how he has developed over these past couple of years. And then one of the things that has been said about Rickie in the past is speeding up the delivery and just speeding everything up. And if you actually watch them very closely, it's tough to really pick this up. You do see with a guy like Garrett Nussmeier a quicker, more compact release, whereas with Rickie Collins, you'll see it's a little bit more of a wind-up. Boom! Looking at you. Let's just celebrate that we actually do have spring footage yet again. PHL Nation, let's freaking go. So here's Mike Denbrock, who is also, of course, the LSU offensive coordinator, working with the LSU tight ends, okay? So Brian Kelly talked about in the press conference after this practice, LSU is very thin at certain positions, and one of those is the tight end position. More so at running back and offensive line. We'll get to that in a second, but you're looking right now at the LSU tight end room, and it doesn't look that deep, but in actuality, you only play one, but I do think LSU wants to run more 12 personnel next year with two tight end formations. Now, this is a guy who I think is going to get a lot of playing time as a true freshman, and that is Mac Markway. And in high school, he did something that a lot of tight end recruits didn't do, which is actually block. So he is a unit. He's pretty big, and we'll see if he is able to transition. Now, this is where things get very interesting, okay? This is Jackson McGohan. He is also a tight end, mostly in name only, because in high school, he mostly just caught the football. So learning how to block is going to be a little bit more of a work in progress for him. So feel free to drop a donation. It goes a long way helping grow this channel. You can also join the PHL Patreon, baby. Shout out to JSB, Jordan, Kedrick, a bunch of new patrons lately, and you get my private spring practice reports, things that I'm hearing and seeing that really stand out to me. So this is the running back room that we have previously mentioned is very thin, and as you can see, just not a whole lot of running backs out there. There's Noah Kane, and then you will see in just a second a guy you're very familiar with, Trey Holly. So this next rep is Malachi Lane. He is a walk-on running back. And what happens here, and this is Trey Holly in the background, spring has always been very harsh on LSU's running back room, especially in recent years, right? That's a position, of course, as many of you know, gets dinged up. You don't want too many carries or just too many reps, but as you saw right there, it looked as if there were only 3 running backs going through that drill. You're looking at LSU's full running back room. We'll talk more about this in live streams, but John Emery, according to Brian Kelly, more academic issues. He won't be available. BK did say, though, that Josh Williams should be back soon. So overall, just a banged-up room. This is number 12, Kyle Parker. Lots of new numbers, so bear with us here. Number 14 is Jaylen Brown, 2 early enrollee wide receivers. Shelton Sampson and Kai Prean won't be here until the summer, and obviously they are going through blocking drills. So once again, it looks as if the LSU wide receiver room, in terms of numbers, is fine. Right, number 80, which used to be worn by Jack Besh, is now Gregory Clayton, the punt return specialist. So he, of course, is still on the roster. And a player that is noticeably absent is number 1, Aaron Anderson. You give him the number uno jersey. You guys know how I am about jersey numbers. It's a pretty big deal. So this is, I know a lot of you are having like second thoughts. Wait, is Miles Brennan back? This is actually Matt O'Dowd, one of the backup quarterbacks. And right here, this is just a simple drill working on catching the football. That's Kyron Lacey in the background. This is Brian Thomas Jr. And obviously, this is just a dummy drill. And one of the things you look for is, do you catch the football with your hands or do you catch the football with your body? One thing I've always enjoyed, and it gets a little blocked off here by this cameraman walking by, this is Carter Sheridan right here, is Chris Hilton is a really good, clean hands catcher. You've always seen this in the spring. Can he get healthy for an entire season? We'll see. So I know it's spring, a lot of new names and numbers and all of this. Where I think things get confusing with new players is actually on the defensive side of the football. Offensive positions are a little bit more straightforward. Defensive, though, because of scheme and whatnot, it can get tricky, okay? So in just a second, including, actually right now, you're going to see Jamar Cain working with the defensive lineman. So this is number 95, Tyji Hill, going through this drill first here with Noah Kane. I believe this is Preston Lane, a walk-on defensive lineman. So you'll see John Jancic, the new LSU outside linebackers coach, in the background in just a second. But what I think LSU decided to do was have Jamar Cain work with what I like to call the three-point stance defensive lineman in Matt House's system, okay? That includes Savion Jones. And for those that don't know, a three-point stance is when you have one hand on the ground pre-snap. So think last year Ollie Gay, think last year Mekhi Wingo, who's not practicing this spring. That is Jacoby and Guillory going through the drill. That's who Jamar Cain's working with the shoot drill. I believe that is Paris Shan going through the shoot drill. 96 is Jalen Lee, the transfer from Florida, who's originally from Louisiana. This is Fitzgerald West. Very key to point out that he is no longer with the offensive line. He is now with the LSU defensive line, it looks like. Maybe that changes. And here's Quincy Wiggins. A lot of hype surrounding him. So Jamar Cain working with the defensive lineman. And here's John Jancic working with the edge linebackers, okay? Guys that will be in two-point stances or standing on the edge in Matt House's system. So Jackson Howard, Ovia Gufo right here, okay? So yes, that's going to get take some getting used to because he is a new on-field assistant. But all I think LSU is doing is just separating, obviously. So Matt House will work with your traditional linebackers like Greg Penn and Omar Spates and John Jancic, as you see right here, is working with the Jacks. So there's Ovie Agufo, number 17, the transfer from Texas. This is Braden Swinson, the transfer from Oregon. Okay. Now, what's going to be very interesting from LSU's point of view is number 49, who you don't see now, you'll see him in just a second, is a guy by the name of Deshaun Womack, the 5-star. Is he going to be one of these guys, or is he going to be one of Jamar Cain's guys? We'll see. This is Jackson Howard. He played a lot of tight end in high school, top 125, 4-star player. His dad was a big-time defensive end in the NFL, and last year, Howard played everywhere. He also played some quarterback in high school, played some off-ball linebacker as well. This is Princeton Malbrew, a former walk-on as well. So, once again, this is John Jancic working exclusively with the Ojalaris, okay? And I'm calling them the Ojalaris just to give you an idea of what position this actually is, okay? Remember last year Xavier Carter wore this jersey. Now, once again, it's Ovie Agufo, okay? And what they're working on here is getting a good first step and setting the edge in the running game, okay? Now at a distance, you'll see how few LSU offensive linemen are out there. Some of these are cut off here, but you see Will Campbell, you see Marlon Martinez, Kimo Makanele still hanging around, obviously with LSU. Hopefully he could be somebody that turns into a potential backup. But, yeah, obviously everybody's getting their work in. Let's go. So I know it's tough to see, but what they're doing is just working on their double teams, right? LSU ran a lot of duo, where that initial double team is just so critical for the play to work. Obviously, they ran also a lot of inside zone, where it's not so much like that. It's not as vertical of a blocking assignment, if you will. But there's Bo Bordelon right there, so that's obviously really good. So once again, you get more defensive line work in the background, and that's always fun to see. Now, you know what? One thing I will say is this defensive line room is very deep. Okay, keep in mind Mekhi Wingo, who will start. He was so good for them last year. Mason Smith will be back, and then of course you have a guy that a lot of people are very excited to see. There he is, Deshaun Womack. Okay, Jordan Jefferson is somewhere. I don't know where he is right now. This is Matthew Langlois, who was pretty much out all last year with an injury. Deuce Chestnut, the transfer lineman. There's BK right there. And as you can see, even though these guys are not practicing, they are still getting their work in, or at least some cardio in. Boom! Looking at you, okay? I know you've already subscribed and rang the bell. And now it's time to get to the position group that actually wrote about on Patreon in deeper detail, and how they're actually aligned really sticks out to me. So I won't go too deep into it. Sign up for the Patreon. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And as you'll see, this is LSU's newest analyst, Bob Diaco, who has head coaching experience coming in. I also think he's going to help out LSU with some special team stuff. He is an analyst, and this is obviously Matt House going through everything here. You see Omar Spates. You see Harold Perkins working with this group. Also, the new number 40 is Whit Weeks, younger brother of Wes Weeks, and you know, they're just going through it right now. So right here, you see LSU working on some zone redrills, okay? So essentially what you are doing is, if the quarterback keeps it, you have the quarterback. If the running back keeps it, crash down and make a play. And all you're working on is just squeezing this play down. You see the zone block. You're the unblocked guy. You're the contained defender on the edge. And as you'll see, the quarterback decided to keep it. You leave him. You go make the tackle. There's Diaco right there. And I believe this is Matt House, coaching up Harold Perkins, telling him try not to get too vertical there. So that's all this is. And once again, if you're an actual player that's gone through this, it could get boring because you're not really hitting or doing anything. there's number 16, Quad Wilson, the 99-yard pick six specialist, son of Frank Wilson. Here is Major Burns. You see Denver Harris in the background working with the corners. So we get to this footage right here from 247 Sports, and it's practically the same thing you saw at the beginning because, as always, it begins and ends with the quarterback position. Now, you see Jayden Daniels going through these reps. I'm not playing the audio, but what you're trying to do, obviously, in these first couple of practices is just get your rhythm, right? This is the first time some of these players have thrown in their pads in quite some time. Obviously, they're not in full pads, just in shoulder pads and helmet. But you'll see right here this ball on rep number 3 from Jayden. It does begin to dip a little bit, and you see this ball is just kind of wobbling out of there, right? It's something that obviously LSU is going to work on, getting out of his game. Last year, there was just too many balls that just wobbled out of his hands without deflection, right? And that is what you're working on, right, is getting these finer details, finer detailed, if you will. So overall, I do think Jayden looked good. Once again, you're throwing against air. This is not his best quality. Obviously, his playmaking ability, his leadership, and those intangible things are the more important things. And look, I saw Garrett Nussmeier in some other clips. We won't get to him. One of these throws was a misfire. So once again, everything that you saw today, don't take too much away from it, right? This is the very first practice. I would say minimum 7 big-time players for next year's team aren't even practicing right now. And I would say probably 4-ish of them would be ready to go if there was a game played today. So understand throughout spring, and you're seeing some corner drills in the background, everything is precautionary, right? And you want to see some rust. You want to see some mistakes so you can point those things out and, work on it. So there you go. Denver Harris, obviously in the background, getting some work in. Number 12 is actually J.K. Johnson, the transfer from Ohio State. Obviously, there's a Terrence Welsh right there. 25, Javian Toviano. Look how well built that man is right there. It's crazy, huh? So, yeah, it's a bunch of new faces. You got to love it. So, yeah, and it's the first time some of these players are going through these drills with these coaches, right? Some of which they are just now, not necessarily meeting, but getting used to their coaching style. This is all new to them. So, yeah, very fun stuff. Here's Nuss going through the 2-minute drill. This first snap was obviously a little bit erratic. This is the second-team offensive line, by the way, so don't take too much away from that. And let's see, who's getting – I think that's Bo Bordelon right there, 67, doing the backup center reps. Very interesting. But, yeah, they're in 2-minute. Chris Hilton right there. So, yeah, in just a moment, I'm going to post a screenshot. We just hit 1,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know where this throw was going, but that's practice for you. So, yeah, in just a moment, I'll post it on the screen, a bunch of new jersey numbers and the players that will represent those jersey numbers. So comment down below your thoughts on our first spring practice video. Once again, for a deeper linebacker breakdown, go to Patreon. And a little bit later tonight, if you are watching this on a premiere right now, we will be doing a live stream from, speaking to people that were at practice today. We are going to get to a lot of different topics tonight. So be on the lookout for that. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! And tonight, we're doing Slam and Salmon, baby. Let's go! A little extra treat for you at the end. Here's Harold Perkins working with Whit Weeks. So this is Perkins' old jersey number. There you go, working on fighting off blocks and getting a good extension, reading the blocks. Good stuff.